Hi, everybody. Tim Dwyer here from South Australia. It's the 10th of March, 2021. Well, I was listening to Talkback Radio this morning in South Australia, and it was interesting. They had the police commissioner on, Grant Stevens. And Mr. Stevens went through and explained that no borders are closed. All the borders are open. People can travel freely pretty much throughout Australia. And so therefore, we've pretty much got everything sorted. People are back to normal almost. And once we've got this vaccine out, everything will be okay. So I got to thinking, we don't have anybody in ICU suffering from COVID-19. We don't have people dropping dead like flies, as in a pandemic. People are able to cross borders freely because there is no evidence of a pandemic yet, and still the states keep us in a state of emergency. Clearly, there is no evidence of an emergency by their own news report. Clearly, there is no evidence of an emergency based on the data coming out of all the state health officials. And yet the government, the feds, have spent $26 million with an advertising campaign to coerce and convince you to roll up your sleeves. It's roll up. Here in South Australia, Nicholas Spurrier is in an advert saying, roll up, come and get your vaccine. And yet the nursing homes, the aged care facilities are passing out documents, forms for the people to consent to the vaccine without giving them all the data required by law to get a informed consent. That in that form they're passing out, there is no mention of any particular side effects that may or may not occur. There is no indication that there could be partial paralysis. There's no indication that Guillain-Barré syndrome could be part of it. People are signing these forms and the government is withholding vital information by their own law. They should be giving to the people so as they can make an informed choice. Ladies and gentlemen, I put it to you this way. Right now, there is no pandemic. Right now, there is no state of emergency. The only reason that the states and the federal government allow a state of emergency to exist in this nation is so as that they are allowed to bring in the untested, untried, unproven vaccine, what they're calling vaccines. And by definition, they are not a vaccine, they're an injection. And they're injecting an operating system by the manufacturer's own words, not mine. They're injecting operating systems that are attached to the DNA. And they're doing this so as they can get as many people done by winter, so as when the flu season hits and this vaccine reacts, it will create another pandemic where people will drop dead like flies. It's my prediction. And so then they'll be able to go harder than what they did last year. I will put it to you this way. I believe that every politician in this country that is going along with this process is committing crimes against humanity. They are having people being involved in an experiment without full knowledge of what the outcome could be. They are holding us in a false state of emergency. So every police officer, every commissioner of police, and every health bureaucrat is involved again in crimes against humanity. And if we do not have closed borders, if we do not have people in hospital, if we do not have ICUs full of people, there is no emergency. I don't care how bad your maths are, surely to God you can figure that out. It is the 10th of March. And from this day forward, people understand you are being played as you have been for the last 12 months by the biggest con job, or the second biggest con job the world has ever seen. The biggest con job, you see, let me come to the biggest con job in a minute. I have this philosophy that if something makes no sense in the natural, doesn't matter how you add it up, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work scientifically, it's not working mathematically, then it's just doesn't work. If something doesn't make sense in the natural, you've got to understand it's got to be spiritual. And by them attacking your DNA, the very essence of who you are, the God gene, you better believe it's spiritual. So the biggest con job the world has ever seen is the devil, Satan, the Luciferians, convinced you that he doesn't exist. And therefore you'll follow like Pied Piper. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Tim Dwyer from South Australia, and the word on the street is push back, say no. You're allowed to say no. Our Constitution says you're allowed to say no. Your conscience says you're allowed to say no. Your gut tells you to say no. The word on the street, say no. Thank you very much.